Here's why I believe reform are the best answer for the next general election. Last night I delivered a great talk at the reform event in Ashford, and it was received really, really well. I made things a bit simpler and understandable for people that might have had a bit of a hard time understanding this topic, converted a few people perhaps, reinforced information for a lot of people. But overwhelmingly the response was very positive, and towards the end people were chiming in and it was a great back and forth, and I felt a very good connection with this crowd, that they really resonated with what I was talking about. But prior to that, a few things happened. They had a couple of other speakers who were legit grassroots councillors for the Ashford branch, and for the first time in my entire life I'm listening to people who have political power, and I'm actually getting a bit inspired. I'm feeling a bit of patriotism and love for this country as they're talking about being of these lands and being for the people, being for the country. It's very inspiring. And of course, these politicians, they're only councillors, they're very low down in the pyramid of politicians in the hierarchy, but they still have positions of political power. And this is what I've been saying to people, because obviously the Reform Manifesto looks great, look at all these things that they're promising, but we're so sick and tired, are we not, of politicians promising all this stuff and then not actually coming through with any of their promises. We are over it. That's why so many people have just checked out of politics. They've given up, because all we've ever known our entire lives are the twin dildos of Conservative and Labour taking turns to fuck everybody and destroy the country in slow motion. That's all we've ever known. So I understand why people have checked out. But I invite you to consider if that really is the best perspective. Because if we just give up and we give control of the levers of power of our society to people who hate us and want to destroy us, it's only going to get worse. And it can get worse, believe it or not. So I was listening to these men speak and I was very inspired, and I learned a few things about how, for example, the Ashford councillors have taken a 5% pay cut to help fund the community. That sounds pretty genuine to me. One of the councillors was joking about how, yeah, he just got a brand new job and the first thing he did was vote for a pay cut. I mean, who does that? And so with the promises that's been made by Reform, it's like, how can we see if they're going to stick to them at all? And what we do is we look at what happens when they get a little bit of power. And we've seen, what have they done when they've got a little bit of power? The Kent County Council have declared there's no climate emergency. That is huge. That is going to destroy net zero in Kent. And that means it's going to be really good for Kent businesses, and their investment and businesses are going to pour into Kent if they don't have to deal with any of this net zero bullshit. If you're anybody who's involved in business in any way, shape or form, I'm sure you know about how annoying and frustrating and a waste of time, energy and resources all of this net zero bullshit is. So that was really awesome. I was really happy to have these councillors talking about their work that they've done so far, and they're showing that when Reform got a little bit of power, they have actually stuck to their manifesto of ending net zero. But not only that, I was blessed to have one of the councillors from the Folkestone branch who actually has invited me to talk at their branch at some point, and that's really awesome. But she was saying about how they've gone into the libraries and removed all of the trans literature from the libraries. Think about this. This is exactly what we actually want as freedom fighters and the Truther movement. This is what we would do, is it not, if we had positions of political power? We would end all of this woke bullshit, we'd end all of the climate con bullshit, and so on and so forth. How inspiring is this? Because this shows us that we can make a change in the political world. Reform is not just Nigel Farage, it's taken on its own momentum. It's almost been taken over by the awake patriots around the country who want to see this place actually thrive like it should be. Even one of the councillors I spoke to was like, yeah, I'm a tin hatter, I have been for ages, before he got on and had his talk, which was quite funny. And so what I've seen is that now that this movement has taken on legs of its own, that it is the only political party that isn't Labour, Conservative, Greens or Lib Dems, that are just all different flavours of the same bullshit, that has the momentum to win the next election. Like, maybe there are other political parties that might actually be even more for the people and what we actually need right now, but none of them are going to win the next election. Let's just be real here. There's just not enough momentum behind any of these other political parties. But what will happen, I believe, when Reform get in, is we'll see a transition be the first time in 100 years in all of our lives that we've had a political party that isn't Labour or Conservative. Finally, we'll see that it's actually possible to have a political party that isn't either of those two. And then, if they do not stick to their word, it will create space for the momentum to flow to the next political party that it needs to be. Whether that is the Homeland Party, whether that is Advance UK, whether that is the Heritage Party, and so on. But this is why I believe this is the next smartest move to make in the political realm, is to vote for reform and see what they will actually do when they have power at the national level. If it's just more of the same of what's been happening at the county council level, then we're in for a good time. The thing is, politics doesn't solve all of our problems. Anybody hoping that you can just vote once every 5 years and that's all you ever have to do politically, and that's going to solve all of your problems, and you don't need to work on making yourself better, improving your lives, and doing your part in your local community to make your local community better, being involved and networking, connecting and taking action in your local area to actually make it a better place. Just, once every 5 years, that's all I contribute. That's not very helpful. However, it does make a difference. Anybody who thinks that it doesn't matter who has the levers of control in the world of politics, and I'm really, really rich, so I just talk about money and I don't care about politics. So it's like, do you just need to take your mind back a short period of time to the year of 2020? Look what happened when we had the wrong people in political power, and look how much it affects society. It's a very extreme example, but who says something like that can't happen again? Let's hope not. I don't think they'll ever get away with the same sort of pandemic that all just got bullshitted throughout all of those years. But something, who knows, right? But it's like, this is what can happen if we let the wrong people get political power for too long. Eventually things go very, very bad. A quick look in history will tell you how it can get even worse if the wrong person has political power for too long, and all of the famines and all of the tyranny and all of the terrible living conditions and all of the death and genocide and so on. It does make a difference. So I invite you, my fellow Truther movement, those who perhaps have never had any hope of a political party ever before, because I haven't ever, to consider that maybe this is the time, for the first time ever, to get involved. Give this party a chance, and then we can go from there.